Hi, welcome to Mindful Conversations. I'm Greg Dwyer. My guest today is Dave Luzzi. I'm really excited about this. Dave and I have known each other for 2 decades. He is an assistant broker right here in Litchfield, Connecticut. He's an expert in real estate. And we're going to talk today about selling and buying. We're also going to talk about the sales cycle and sales in general. So if you're looking to sell a house, looking to buy a house, or you just want to educate yourself on the market, either locally here in Connecticut, or just to have some expert advice, you're going to want to stay tuned in our conversation with Dave Luzzi. When most people think about sales, they hear the word sales, they think of something negative. I remember about 25 years ago, someone approached me about a sales business. And my first reaction was literally this. I said, I don't want anything to do with sales and marketing. I want nothing to do with it. I remember exactly where I was. I was in Ohio. Someone approached me about a business opportunity, and I said, I don't want anything to do with money. I don't want anything to do with sales. I don't want anything to do with marketing. Well, here I am, so things have changed. What changed? Well, what changed really is my thinking, because what I realized, and maybe you're realizing this as well, is that we are all in sales. Every single one of us is in sales. Whether you're behind a counter at a restaurant or you're talking to someone, your lips are moving and someone's listening, someone is selling something and someone is buying. Whether you're talking about politics, whether you're talking about religion, whether you're talking about real estate, it really doesn't matter, because sales really is service. And we're going to hear about this when we interview Dave Luzzi after the break. Sales is about taking two people or two things and really just bringing them together. Here's an example. Maybe you're a parent and you want your child to go to bed at 9 o'clock. You may want to use sales. You may want to use persuasion to get your child to go to bed on time. Or you may want to use influence for your boss or your spouse or the teacher at school. It's all about persuasion. Just the other day, someone came into my office for an interview. And I was thinking to myself, how is this person going to sell herself to me and the staff? And really what you're doing in a situation like that is you're doing sales. Maybe you don't think you're on commission, but if a person hires you, you are going to get paid. So the way I look at it, my worldview is that we are all in the business of ethical influence, persuasion, and sales. In fact, I heard this the other day. I've heard this for years. Until something is sold, nothing happens. I mean, think about all of the commission salespeople. Think about all of the realtors and all of the people that do sales, including myself, because I sell a speech called The Magic of Communication. If everything came to a close, everything would stop. And so sales is not a negative thing. And another way I think about it is I think of sales as a game. Now, if you listened to my episode last week, we talked about the game of life, and we talked about the game of business. Well, specifically, what I'm referring to here is what I learned many years ago called ADACT. It's A, I, D, A, and the middle is C. So when I think of the sales cycle, and when I'm talking about sales here, I'm talking about real estate, I'm talking about persuading your boss to give you a vacation time, or maybe you're looking to get a job, or maybe you just want to get married. You meet somebody, you get their attention, and your interest is to get married to this person, or whatever it might be. You begin with the end in mind. And so A, I, D, A, C is beginning with the end in mind. In any transaction, you are really persuading, you are really influencing, and you're probably a salesperson and you don't even know it. If you're in relationship with other people, if you have a boss, you work for yourself, you have family and friends, this is part of the process. So let's just go over this in the next 5 minutes. The first thing is attention. No matter what you want to do, Maybe you want to book a speech, or maybe you want to get someone's attention by applying for a job and getting that job. Maybe you want to go on a date with someone. That's pretty easy, right? The first thing you have to do if you want to go on a date with someone or get their attention or get a job or sell a piece of real estate is you have to get their attention. And you can do that many ways, right? You can send an email, you can pick up the phone, you can see them in person. But the first thing you have to do is get their attention. About 3 months ago, I saw Dave Luzzi here in town in Litchfield, and I've known him for years. So I said, hey, Dave, how's it going? Hey, listen, I don't know if you know this, but I have a television show, and I would love to have you on the television show. And that was it. I just basically dropped it. It's not like I wanted him to sign a contract. It's not like I wanted to say, okay, pull out your calendar and we're going to do this right now. All I did is I just brought up the subject. That was it. I said, I know you, I trust you, I like you, I'd love to have you on my show. So about 2-3 months ago, I got his attention. The next thing I did is I followed up. I wanted to see if I really had his interest. Now, there's a big difference between interest and attention. Like you could meet someone, let's say you want to go on a date with someone and you kind of flirt with them or you ask them out, maybe you get their attention, but when you call them, they're telling you they have to do their hair or they don't have time or they have a boyfriend or girlfriend or something. You really don't have their interest. So you never get from here to here. In persuasion and in influence and in sales, you have to go from home base to first base to second base, third, and back to home. It's a process, it's a game, it's a way to qualify people. So back to my story, true story. Talked to Dave a couple months ago, asked him on the phone, sent an email, asked him if he would be interested in being my guest in the future, like a couple months from now. And he said, sure, no problem. And then I followed up again. And the next section here, or module, is desire. This is when you find out if a person really has interest. You know, a lot of times people say, sure, I would love to do that, or I hope to do that. I'm going to try to do that. I hear that all the time. I'm going to try to do this, or I'm going to try to do that. When a person has desire, they're moving closer and closer to where you want them to be. Now, I believe this with all of my heart. You can't control people. You really can't. You can't make people say yes. You can't make people say no. But what you can is offer an opportunity. And you can also influence people. But you really can't make people. You can't control people. So what you're doing here is you're going through the process of finding out how serious a person might be. So if you're selling property or you're doing door-to-door sales, I guess they don't do that anymore, or maybe you're doing cold calling over the phone, or you just want to persuade your relatives to come over for Christmas or Hanukkah or for Thanksgiving, you got to get their attention, you got to find out if there's interest, and then you got to find out if they have desire. The next letter is action. This is when a person pulls out their phone, they pull out their calendar, and they say, yes, I'm going to be there. And they commit to it. And maybe the day before you get a phone call, or the day of you get a phone call, someone says, I'm definitely going to be there. And then you know that they're taking actions to make this a reality. So they're going through the whole process of AIDA. Now, what is the last one? Let me share with you what the last one is. And this is the bullseye. This is where you win the prize, whatever the prize may be. Maybe it's the wedding bells, maybe it's asking someone out or getting someone on a show or getting the raise or whatever it is. The bullseye in the middle, right in the middle, is commitment. I mean, that's what you're looking for. You're looking for commitment. You start off here with attention, interest, desire, action, and then finally they show up on the trip. You know, maybe you're going to Israel, maybe you have a cruise or whatever it is, or they show up on the date, or they show up on the interview, or they hire you for the job. So this is a process, and a lot of times people want to go for this immediately. You know, they want to go for the yes immediately, you know, right away. But really, this is more of a soft sell. You're getting their attention, you're getting their interest, you're finding out if they have desire, and if they don't, that's a no. That's a yes. You can't control it. If they take a little bit of action, that's great, like they put on a deposit or put down a deposit, I should say, for a trip. And then finally, they start packing their bags and they show up for the trip. That means they are committed. Now, does this mean that everyone that you talk to is going to say yes with this process? Absolutely not. It's totally impossible to get everyone to say yes. Is it possible to bring people through this system? Yes, all you have to do is play the numbers. Now, I started years ago as a magician back in the 70s and 80s, and I know a little bit about magic. But when it comes to sales and it comes to persuasion, it really is about playing the numbers. So here I have 52 cards. They're all different. These 52 cards are going to be shuffled, and I have no idea which card is where. And so the way you would play the game is just like you would play a sales game, in the sense that you're looking for someone to say yes, or you're looking for someone to say no. You're getting their attention, their interest, desire, action, and finally commitment. So let's say you're out to find a job, and you're looking for that ace. You're looking for the ace of diamonds, or you're looking for the ace of hearts, or you're looking for the ace of clubs, or the ace of spades. You don't know where it is. You have to look into the newspaper. You have to go online. You have to search and search and search, because you have no idea where the aces are, because you just don't know where they are. The only way for you to find the aces out of these 52 cards is to talk to 52 people. So let's do this. I'm going to just cut the cards in the middle, and I'm going to pull out this card. Oh my goodness. This is just a coincidence. There's no way I did a trick here. I promise you. So here's an ace of diamonds. That was, I promise you, a coincidence, because I didn't plan this. This is not a magic trick. I'm not that good at sleight of hand. So there's an ace of diamonds. So I got lucky. So maybe I pick up the phone and I talk to someone and they hire me. Or I pick up the phone and ask someone to be on my show and they hire me. And I feel great. And that feeling lasts a while. But then you got to play the game again. Now, if I pull out another ace, I will be amazed. But I will tell you, this is not fixed. Let's try it again. There I go. That's not an ace. There's not an ace here either. There's not an ace here either. There's a 10. That's not an ace. And I will tell you that it's just a game. And if you learn this as a game, you'll get lucky sometimes, and sometimes you will not. But I will tell you, you're going to want to listen to Dave Luzzi. After this break, I'm so excited. Stay tuned to be with us. Welcome back to Mindful Conversations. I'm excited. My guest today is Dave Luzzi. I've known Dave for years, decades. We're going to talk about sales. We're going to talk about the relationship between the realtor and the buyer. Dave, thanks so much for being on the show.
Greg, thanks for the invitation.
So I looked at your background, your resume. You've been doing this since the 70s. You were born and raised here. How did you get involved in real estate?
I was looking for a business where I could put myself into it, where the amount of business I accomplished was proportional to the effort that I put into it. I'm not the kind of person that works well on a 9-to-5 Monday through Friday situation. So
yeah, I'm not either. So you like the freedom, I'm guessing.
The independence, yes, absolutely.
So how do you balance this? Because not everybody likes that. Some people, they want to have a routine. They want to punch a clock, or they want to show up at a job. They're looking for security, which I think is an illusion, because you can do that for 10, 20, 30, 40 years and someone can let you go. So how do you manage that as far as communication, like when deals go sour, when deals go great? I mean, how do you do that?
Well, first of all, you perfect your expertise so that deals don't go sour, and you keep a high success rate, in the business. But it is a matter of staying focused on what it is that you believe in, and your core principles and your core values, and always keeping a focus on why you're there in the real estate process, helping buyers and sellers.
So selling is not a bad word. We talked about that. You're a salesperson. I'm a salesperson. I think everyone listening, watching is a salesperson, whether they know it or not. Let's talk about the relationship that you build as far as trust and how the cycle happens. You were talking to me earlier about this. How do people find you other than the website and Facebook?
Well, it is part, that's the initial stage of the whole customer journey, as you were referring to, where the very first thing is that they develop an awareness of you as a real estate agent. And of course, nowadays it's in the social media particularly. It used to be printed media is where buyers and sellers would look to for real estate advice. Now it's all online. So we have to have a very strong presence on social media.
Right. And you do business in all of Connecticut or a section of Connecticut? Where primarily?
Well, I'm with E.J. Murphy Realty in Litchfield, and we have two offices. One is on the green in Litchfield, and the other is in the Post Office Square in Goshen. So our predominant marketplace is Litchfield, Morris, and Goshen.
Okay, excellent. And so if people want to find you, they can go to those offices. What about your website? Do you have a specific URL you want to share with people, or how?
DaveLuzzi.com.
Oh, I love it.
Pretty creative.
I love it.
Yeah, DaveLuzzi.com. I do have recently started an Instagram page and a blog and so on, so I'm out there.
And Luzzi is L-U-Z-I.
One Z.
Okay, all
Correct.
right, so
Correct.
excellent. So DaveLuzzi.com. Yeah, that's great when you can have the domain be your name.
Yeah.
So people can find you.
And the email address is dave@daveluzzi.com.
I love it. I love it. Excellent.
So, going back to something you mentioned before, I look at my role as a real estate agent as helping people with a dilemma that they have. Buyers have a dilemma. They would like to purchase a house, but it's a complicated process and they're overwhelmed. Sellers would like to sell a house. It's a complicated process and they're overwhelmed, and they need somebody to help them with that process, and that's where a competent real estate agent comes in. You are right. I've been doing real estate full-time for 34 years. I know I'm not a dabbler in the business, and I take my profession seriously. And that is what I truly look at my role as being, to help that buyer and that seller in that very complicated process.
So you are an expert. And the other thing is, I see these books on Amazon or Barnes & Noble, how to buy property and how to flip them and how to do no money down. And I remember like 15, 20 years ago, you and I having a conversation because I had the stars in my eyes. Does that work here in Connecticut?
Not all that well. And I think people have gotten away from the fact that real estate used to be a long-term investment, that it was a long-term process, that you didn't buy a house in January and flip it in December for some kind of, out of the ordinary return. It's a long-term process generally. You should commit to being there for 3 to 5 years, unless you're in a business where you may be relocated. But because there are so many ups and downs in the cycles, that it really is the long ride that is important.
Right. So the question that comes up, and I know you mentioned this earlier, people want to know, how's the market? So what are we in August? August 2018, some people will be watching this on social media maybe a year from now, 2 years from now. How are things now? I know this question comes up at parties, and what do you say to people?
We hear it all the time.
Right?
Yeah, I'm the office statistician. I love to look at numbers and data. Right? Absolutely. So I have my fingers on the pulse of the market.
All right.
And I can say this, that since comparing the first part of 2018 with the first part of 2014, the number of sales have increased. But the actual median value has actually decreased a bit. So what's happening is that I think lower price range homes are selling faster than the upper price ranges. So number of sales are up. Median value is flat or down a bit in the last 4 years. So it's a soft market. And again, my market area is Litchfield, Morris, and Goshen.
Okay. So I read on your bio that you started in the 70s, and maybe you were just doing it part-time, if I remember. How does a person go from part-time, because I know a lot of people do this on the weekends only. How did you make the transition? How did you think through the process to be here today? What are some of the stories? And
it was easier back then.
Oh, it was?
Yeah, it was easier back then.
Okay.
I was a social worker at the time.
I didn't know that.
I was a social worker at the time, and I was selling real estate part-time. You could do that back then because the business was nowhere near as complex as it is right now.
Oh, I see.
So I sold it part-time, and then in 1984, jumped into opening up my own firm and working full-time at it, which I did for 22 years, had my own firm. But nowadays, you really do need to, well, let's say, it's not easy to do this business if you have another full-time job. You need to be able to go to the town hall. You need to be able to take customers out, during the day. You need to be available to go to open houses, broker open houses, and so on. So you don't necessarily need to be full-time, but It's too difficult if you have a full-time job.
So you need to be committed.
You need to be committed. You need to look at your involvement in the real estate business as a profession and treat it that way too. And when I say treat it that way, it's that I have to constantly work at keeping abreast of new developments in the industry, how I can best serve my clients. It requires effort and concentration. You just can't let it. The business is just not going to come to you automatically. So
yeah, it reminds me of the speaking business. I hustle. I'm sending out emails. I'm making phone calls. Very rarely do people just beat down my door saying, "Oh, we'd love you to speak for IBM or McDonald's." You have to pursue it. So how do you pursue? Do you do outbound? How do you find people that are looking to buy or sell?
Internet, internet, internet.
And television.
And television, right, absolutely. So I have a website. And also I am registered as a premier agent with Zillow and Realtor.com. Those are very familiar names nowadays. And a lot of that business comes from there. But because I've been in business so long, I have a base of people that I've worked with before. And repeat customers are a strong part of my business, and referrals from those happy customers is where most of my business comes from.
It sounds like you have a solid business model. Word of mouth, referrals are wonderful. I know in the speaking business, someone sees me speak, hey, can you come to this and that? It's one of, like 80% of my gigs come from, so the same thing with you as well. So it sounds like you're doing a lot of things right.
Yeah, referral business is where most of mine comes from.
Talk about the aspect of trust in the relationship. You mentioned before we started rolling that you don't want to be thinking about money. I don't want to be thinking about money. Money is going to be exchanged as a part of energy. But what are you really doing to build trust, and what is your motive, and how do you do all that? Because that's not easy.
The agent who focuses on commissions only will not be in business long.
Oh, they won't?
No.
Okay.
Because it is a matter of building trust and serving your clients so well that they will think of you when it comes time for them to make a move again. Or when someone says to them, hey, who can you recommend as a real estate agent? So it's always about service to the clients. I love asking the question when I sit down with a buyer or seller, what would you like to see happen in this process?
I see.
What do you expect to happen? What would you like to see happen in this buying or selling process? And then I listen to what it is that's important to them. Because for some people, they're at one point in the whole process. They're in the very initial beginning stages, and they just want to, as you say, attention or awareness of a real estate agent. Others have just been told that they're being relocated in their business and have to sell in 3 weeks. So you need to understand what your clients' needs and wants are and to best serve them.
Right, because the person that's a motivated buyer that's going through a divorce or relocation or downsizing or someone died in their house, I would think, and I didn't know this about you, even though I've known you for decades, I didn't know you had the social, the background as a social worker. How has that served you over the years with this business?
Well, I like to say that when I was growing up in high school and college, I swore I did not want to be in Litchfield. I wanted to be where the action is.
Like where?
So, big city somewhere.
Yeah.
So I did not go far. I'm a lifelong resident of Litchfield.
That's great.
Even went to the University of Connecticut, where I earned a degree in psychology, and from there went into the social work. So I think if anything, it taught me the best thing a realtor can do is to ask questions and then be quiet and listen.
Wow.
Listen so that they know what their buyers' wants and needs are. Because if you are taking them in one direction, but they really want to go in a different direction, you're not serving them. So it's constantly asking questions and determining what is important to them.
Wow. That is wonderful advice. And you said psychology. So, wow, that's wonderful to be able to bring that to the table. And I also know that some people are more visual, right? Some are more touchy-feely, a smell. Different people buy for different reasons, and you probably want to get inside their head for their own purposes to help them and move them along through the process. Because I bet you it's a fearful thing. They're probably afraid a lot of times.
They are. It is a major transaction,
it is.
Especially for first-time home buyers. It's very nerve-wracking for them. But for repeat buyers, too, it's a very exciting process. I mean, I try to remember when I was purchasing real estate, and it was a very exciting time.
Right.
You know, you made the offer, you were on pins and needles knowing whether the seller was going to accept the offer, and so I try to be sensitive to what a buyer and seller are going through.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, I learned a lot about you today. I didn't know your background. I just thought you were in sales and worked at, you know, that's great. I mean, if anybody wants to find a realtor, if someone wants to buy or sell, Dave Luzzi, give out the contact information again. That would be great.
I'm with E.J. Murphy Realty, and we are located on the Green in Litchfield and in the Post Office Square in Goshen. My website address is daveluzzi.com. Email address is dave@daveluzzi.com. Telephone number is 860-567-0859.
And I will tell you that if you live in Litchfield or you live in Connecticut, all you have to do is just hang around and you'll bump into Dave Luzzi. I have in the last 3 months. He's local, he's visible, he's got a lot of references. And so before the show, I asked you to think of, I think there were 4 things. I said, think about different types of real estate. And I think one was an apartment, one was a duplex, I think the other one was a mansion. Do you remember what the last one was? Was it... I don't even remember what the last one was, but I asked you to think about real estate, and you know this, you've been around this for years, and you thought of something, and you didn't share it with me, you didn't share it with the producer, you didn't share it with anybody here, you're tight-lipped, and I would like you to think about what you're thinking about, whether it's the apartment or the duplex, or the townhouse was the other one I think I remember, or the mansion, and I'm going to attempt in the last, I would say we have like a minute left, to figure out what you were thinking about. So I know you have personal rental property, don't you? Okay, so as much as that would be easy, I don't think you picked the apartment. Or the duplex, because that ties in, you know, maybe you have a duplex here in Litchfield or Bantam area. So that leaves me the mansion, or it leaves me the townhouse. And when I think of a townhouse, I'm thinking of something in the Bronx or... So I'm going to go, because I know you're a big thinker, I'm going to go with mansion. Did you pick the mansion?
Well, how obvious would it be that a real estate agent would want to sell a mansion?
Oh, that's right.
Yes, of course it is.
Okay, that's great. So yeah, he wrote down mansion. So I know you can't see it, but he put down mansion. So that's great. Well, you're a big thinker. Yeah, there's more commissions in that, but you're saying that most mansions in the state of Connecticut aren't selling. It's the medium, right?
They are selling. Higher price range homes are selling.
Oh, they are.
They are. It's just lower price range homes that are busier.
Excellent, excellent. Well, thank you so much. It looks like we are out of time.